Okay, everyone. So welcome back to the Packed Mentality podcast with me, Paul Garrigan. And today I've got a very, very special guest on. He's a man who I met a few months ago at the Will Wellness Festival. And as soon as we got speaking, we really had a lot of synergy together in our life stories, in our upbringings, in the things that we've been through in our own lives. And we really, connected on a level. So over the course of the past couple of months, we've had a few conversations and we decided to put a podcast together. So let me introduce you to Aaron Hill, who is a resilience coach. And he has also spent some time in his life within the Special Forces, which is something that we will talk about. Also including, his life story in terms of what has brought him to be doing the amazing work he is now doing in the world. So Aaron, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
No worries, mate. Excuse me. It's a pleasure to be here, buddy. After a long, hot summer here in Barcelona, my kids went back to school today, so it's great to be, straight back Monday morning, back into it, man. Speaking to you. So yeah, cheers, buddy. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me, mate. So I'd just like to start with just a little bit of a check in, mate. What's been alive for you recently? Obviously, you're saying you've been off with the kids and they've been off school, but what have you been up to recently? If you like,
yeah, mate, not a great deal, which is quite new for me actually. So when we met back in the summer, or is it in beginning of June, beginning of July, I think. The weekend after that, I got married to the girl that I've been with for the last 20 years, the mother to my kids. And since then, the kids over here, I live in Barcelona, the kids' summer holidays is really long. So I just decided to take it off and take a lot of pressure off myself. So what's present with me really is this slowing down, feeling more, and literally I feel like I'm growing in love. Yeah, it's a strange sort of thing for some people to hear that. But what that really means is feeling a lot more connected to myself, others around me, dropping a certain type of busy work that for me is really easy to get caught up into, and using my intuition and yeah, a bit more to guide my decisions, my work, my conversations. And so that's what's present with me, mate. A lot
Yeah.
since we've last spoke.
Yeah. Oh, you've just mentioned something, mate, that's come up today actually in the men's group I'm a part of, which is Men's Inner Mastery Academy. But it's come up about, what we do to fill the void when we stop or when we slow down, because you've mentioned slowing down, and there can be like this need to fill time, or this need to fill the gap of doing nothing with something. Like we can end up like busy fools, if you like, or one of the lads has put in the group that whenever he slows down, he just goes and does a job. He'll go and do some dishes in the house, he'll go for some milk, he'll go and do something. And it's sort of like an avoidance sometimes of being with what is and actually feeling more deeply into yourself. So it's amazing that you've actually said that, mate, that you've managed to slow down. Do you find that can come up for you sometimes? Like the body's sort of compulsion to want to do stuff?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So I've really been challenged recently with a book that I've been reading by Amy Hardison. It's called The Ultimate Coach, but it's not really about coaching. And it talks a lot about being, not doing, which for me is, again, a concept that's a little bit out there. But everything I'm doing comes from who I'm being. So for me, going back a tiny bit, it leads in quite nicely with my background, my military background. And as we've discussed, I was always looking to prove myself to the world. So I felt I had to be doing something for people to see me, to be accepted. Obviously, I never found that, as we know, it doesn't really come like that. So yeah, there's still a very strong desire within me to be seen. And even if that's just by myself or my friends or my family, to do something. So yeah, all the time, it's one of the biggest challenges I've got is just slowing it down. And I think there's a second point to that as well, Paul, that slowing down for you might look like one thing, but for somebody else, it might look like another. So I don't think we all have to assume we have to be sitting cross-legged in the lotus position in a field meditating for 6 hours straight to be slowing down. It might just be sitting down for 5 minutes and then getting back to it. I think we need to find our own way to slow down. And the thing I ask myself is, what am I really avoiding when I'm trying to be busy, what is it that's driving me to do that? And it's some sort of self-acknowledgement or recognition, which is that love piece again that we opened up with, for primarily for myself. Can I accept myself for all that I am? Or do I have to stay away from that by being busy? And until recently, mate, it's probably the latter, staying busy. So
yeah. Mine seems to be, I'm a Leo, mate, my star sign, but very much seem to be like a lion. Feel like I'm either hunting or I'm sleeping. Like my rest is literally feet up and sleep. Like have a day. Like I'll just really relax, put something on the telly and probably don't really watch it. But I'll just that's my time to really rest and recuperate. And I don't really feel guilt about that anymore. I might spend a day a week or a day every other week maybe doing that. But there was times when I used to be maybe riddled with some sort of guilt, as if like I should always be active, and I wonder where that comes from. Certainly for men, in the world that we have to be seen to be doing and achieving to be as somebody, because if we're not doing something, it challenges our sense of self, isn't it?
Definitely, mate. And I think that the clue for me personally, and some of the work that I do and the clients that I help, is the word should, because for me that implies like right and wrong, yes or no, black and white. It's the assumption that there's like you said, a guilt. So there's a judgment on ourselves, which for me is a projection of some sort of judgment I have of myself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So yeah, it's wrapped up around that, and it's so hard for us to see, which is why I, as a coach, pay to have a coach, and why I believe that we need support and people around us to help hold us to the standards we've set, because as humans, we're inevitably looking for the easy path, which is just our nature.
And where do you think that sort of, like this self-judgment, if you like, I think it's always interesting, to understand where that comes from as well. Like, it's obviously the work you do and I do is, it's probably it's crossovers, if you like, in what we do. So when you look at where this self-judgment comes from, you can almost guarantee it's coming from childhood and from how we've been raised, whether that's societal conditioning. As soon as we go into school, we're taught to compete with one another, who's good, who's bad, who's good in sport, who's good at maths, who can read. And it's like this competitive nature is bred into us. And then self-judgment starts, doesn't it? That we're judged by our parents for being a good boy or a bad boy.
Exactly. Yeah. If we arrive to the standard, then we pass it. Yeah, we're good. We that deep innate instinct that's built into us. We're safe. We're loved. We're lovable. We're accepted. And if we don't, then watch out. And I think we as we still get that download of emotion and doubt and fear if we don't. But it doesn't necessarily result in the consequence that it might once would have thousands of years ago, in terms of being a liability to the tribe or actually putting our life in danger or in threat. So but the emotions are still the same. That program hasn't updated. So for me, it's trying to understand, just like you said, understand that. Where does it actually come from? And then just gently challenge it. And then, does that serve me? Or does it hinder me? And real curiosity, but being able to look at that kindly, rather than again going back into the loop of beating myself up. And it's that self-compassion piece, that love. Yeah, you're right. And so really for me, it just goes back to a little lad who assumed the world looked a certain way because of a few little events where nothing's really gone wrong, just how I understood the world was. This desperate need to try and prove myself, from failing exams. Although I was thinking about that the other day, I didn't actually fail any. I didn't hit the standard that I needed to continue. So from wetting myself on stage as a 10-year-old in front of the whole school and all their parents, just all these little things, names that my teachers called me, even though it wasn't intentional to cut or to hurt. The responsibility put on me by my parents as the oldest of 4 to help when maybe I just needed a hug sometimes, but they were busy. There was other people that needed their attention more. All these little things, that I've carried and left unchallenged until recently. And now as an adult and with help, I get to challenge them. And actually, they're there to help me, but they don't always served me, and they're not definitely not in charge of forging where I want to go. They're servants, not masters, those sort of experiences.
Yeah, it's like you know, it's all these little knocks and scrapes and little wounds we pick up along the way, like they're like developmental, I suppose, like
Mm.
developmental trauma wounds, if you like, where you know, they don't necessarily have to be these big, massive events that have happened in our lives. It might have just been that we got picked on in school one time as a young boy. Might have been that a teacher made us feel stupid one time,
Yeah,
and we'll
humiliated
never
in the
put our
maths
hand
test.
up
That's what.
again.
Yeah, yeah,
Humiliates us, yeah. We've been made to feel humiliated, and that can then drive our behaviour, how we show up when we step fully into masculinity, if you like, and trying to find our place and purpose in the world. It becomes driven from a wound.
yeah,
Um,
big time.
and then wounds, if you like, Aaron, you know, certainly the way I can word it to men is, you know, your wounds are your wisdom. So if they're nudging you all the time, they're there to teach you something. And when we face them, it's actually a gift of wisdom that wants to find resolution from the past.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
definitely. And
but
and
it's
and
not
for me,
easy
it
to
comes
do.
back. No, it's not at all, and it's quite easy to talk about if you've
Yeah.
done the work to an extent. But I think it's quite clear when you do have a conversation with the people that have actually gone into those wounds, as you say. Yeah, and for me, it just keeps coming back full circle. I'm responsible, and it just comes back to love. Yeah, it's like forgiveness and acceptance of everything. Like I've said, from the comments made, the actions that I've taken, and more importantly, how I choose to respond to them. Now, a great example of this was just before the summer holidays. Kids are tired at the end of the day. They'd been out at this club the other. My wife was working. She works night shifts as a nurse. It's getting them ready for bed. My boy's 9, my daughter's 7, about to be 8. And my daughter was a powerful girl and incredibly intense. And it's awesome on some cases, but it really challenges me as a father on the other. And I caught myself. She was having uh, like a tantrum. It wasn't full on. It was almost like acted, or at least that's what I anticipated. And I kept telling her I was so calm all the way through dinner. I could feel this tension building. And I got upstairs and I'd asked her to do something again, and she was rolling around on my bed, um, shouting her head off at me. And I caught myself. I raised my fist to whack it down on the bed to frighten her, to scare her into doing what I wanted. I caught it and I walked straight out. And I recognized in that split instant, okay, this isn't her. This isn't her. This is me. And what I'm experiencing here, she's not hearing me. When I feel that I'm not heard, I assume I'm not valued. If I'm not valued, I don't feel loved. If I'm not loved, what's the point? You know, it went that quick. Bum, 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 bum. That's after a lot of work and reflection. So that was a real gift. That was really uncomfortable to experience. And then I've had some really interesting conversations around that and being able to go into that wound and see what that means and express that. Yeah, and the next time, a couple of months later, whilst we're on holiday, similar scenario, similar sort of thing. Again, I caught myself. I stepped away, and we managed to do some breath work together. I just said to her, I think we should, let's just put the breathing app on and let's just follow that and let's have a conversation afterwards, because I'm feeling so angry and hurt and frustrated from something that I'm learning to deal with. And so that's the opportunity there. It's a chance to model feeling human emotion, frustration, anger, sadness, hurt, whatever, and then look to a tool and a solution and open a certain level of conversation. So that's an example of, yeah, most men or fathers can relate to.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
gift within that. And again,
Yeah.
it's about love for myself, letting certain things go. I'm heard, I'm loved. Reaffirm that to myself, and feel it for myself, so that I can show that to the people that I love and care for, especially my family.
Yeah. And I think, you know, while you were talking, things were just coming into my own experience from what you were saying. In terms of like with my own, I've got 2 sons, if you like. But I've had conversations with men recently. There's a lot of men trying to step up right now. They're trying to be better fathers. We're trying to, you know, be better partners. We're trying to, you know, be more aligned with our purpose. You know, we're really delving into the inner work A lot of men that they're ready. If you like, the world's ready to do this. But what I found a lot of men, speak to me about, and what was resonating with me when you were speaking then, Adam, was how we can project our pain onto our loved ones and our children. And for me, certainly, like my maybe wound of not feeling good enough. Certainly with my elder lad, you feel like he's really talented at football. But I've really pushed him while he was younger, like really tough on him, really, really tough. But that was a projection of my own weakness of not feeling enough when I was younger and not having my dad pushing me. So that pain got projected onto him to go and perform, to fill my void of not feeling enough.
Big time.
Yeah.
And how's that developed now then, by the way, mate? Now that you've done that work and he's a bit older, how does that manifest itself, or what do you do differently now, mate, out of coincidence or
so when I go to watch him, like now when I go to watch him, I don't coach him. Like, I'm there to support him. I'm not emotionally attached to his performance. I don't make that mean anything about me anymore. I used to make it mean something about me if he played bad, that I was a failure because he played bad or he never had a good game. And when it's never been about me. So our relationship from where he was when he was 11, 12, we were always loving. But when sport and competition came into it, there was a massive disconnect of, I disliked my own child in sport. There was a part of me that disliked, and I think Jordan Peterson talks about, and I disagree with this, by the way, never let your child do something that makes you dislike them. And I don't really agree with that. I think that says more about the parent if you're disliking your child when they're doing something. So I had this, obviously, projection while he was younger that he needed to be at a certain level and perform a certain way for me to be happy. Now that has now obviously evolved to me and him being the best of mates, to me owning my stuff, to me apologising, tears, crying, like, it was never your fault. I should never have put this onto you. And he's like, Dad, you've made me the player I am. I love you, and I get why you're sorry and you did hurt me, but it's okay. Because I know you love me. So now he wants me to be there all the time. He used to say he wanted me there, but then he could never trust that I weren't gonna, like, maybe act in old ways. But now, obviously, over the past, say 5 years, we've really built this container of trust where I'll be honest with him if he asks me opinion, but equally I'm not, I'm not his coach. And he's played football at a higher level on an athletic level than I ever did. So our relationship is very much like a father-son. No, rather than making him have to be at a certain level to please his father. Which wasn't okay. It was my own pain. But that's played out in our own family dynamics, if you like, because, you have like intergenerational trauma, I suppose, and you have family traumas and pains that show out. I believe we've resolved that trauma, if you like, within the family dynamic, because I've done that work on myself. It's allowed him to now step into manhood without carrying the pain that his dad did.
And I love that, mate. It's like modeling, isn't it? I think we know we're going to mess up as parents, but it's having the self-compassion for ourselves, like you say, to go in, explore, express, and give our kids their own opportunities to make their own decisions in terms of careers or sports or life, really, without trying to do it to please dad. But even when they do, it probably won't be the right thing anyway, because it's not about that, is it? So I love that, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, it's like we're there to be the guides, aren't we, Adam? We're not there to tell them how to live. And I don't know if you've seen being around football, mate, in the UK yourself, but certainly in the city where you're from, like, it's absolute carnage of a weekend with parents watching kids. I've seen full-on battles on the pitch with parents before. And probably every weekend, mate, you see kids walking off to the car crying. When essentially we're taking them there to have fun and to socialise and to be fit and healthy, but it becomes about the parent projecting their expectations, maybe, unrealistic expectations on our children, which is maybe affecting them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think so many of us do. And the
Yeah,
difference is, are we conscious of them or not?
yeah,
And then if we are, then we can we can change those intentions of how we act, can't we? Around our kids, or around our clients even, or our partners, rather
yeah.
than coming from, yeah, like I say, unchallenged beliefs and thoughts and experiences.
Mm, mm. Yeah, we could go on, mate. We could go on. We could go
Big
on
time.
about like really deep into all this, mate, and we will do another time. But I want to get more into your story, Aaron.
Yeah.
Obviously you're a resilience coach now, and the work that you're doing, but equally, the life you've led up until this point. If you wouldn't mind, just sharing some of your experiences and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that,
No
that you've been
worries.
through in your life that's brought you actually to doing this work. If you like what was the trigger to go, this is what I want to do after the career I've had and the things I've been doing, what's brought me to this point?
Yeah. No worries, mate. So I finished school at 16 with a big collection of E's and F's and D's in my in my GCSE results, which didn't really help me in terms of where I wanted to go in sixth form and A levels. But I went to college. My parents encouraged me to go to college. Did that for 2 years, and I joined the Royal Marines. A very busy time operationally with the Royal Marines, just at the era that I joined up in, which was a great experience, great fun as a young 18, 19-year-old lad. But I did 5 years with the Royal Marines, and I went on selection. I went to the Special Forces for 5 years again. And that was also an interesting period, very busy, a great experience, and one that I decided to step away from. Then I went into the security industry for 10 years, which is quite a natural transition for lads, as you know,
Yeah.
from the military at least in a certain era to pivot to. And during that time, I found that, yeah, this isn't what I want either. I always knew about that. I knew that. I retrained as a personal trainer and strength coach. And it's during that time that I got to find out about coaching, mainly because I was training for an Ironman, and I was looking at mindset, and I was looking for the low hanging fruit in terms of what can I improve on for the racing. That's easy to do, not going to cost lots of money in terms of, as Ironman can get really expensive quite quick in terms of kit and equipment and bikes. And that's a realistic, given that I was a father to two young kids and working. So that's where the mindset sort of thing came in. During this period, a mate of mine reached out to me and asked, would I be interested in getting some coaching? He's looking to practice and build up his portfolio, of which I said yes. I completely changed my life around. I went from living in like a victim state, fearful of everything, and like I said, with a desperate need to prove myself, but avoiding any situation where I might be shown up. Working in a local gym here in Barcelona, speaking my second and third language as a 40-something-year-old personal trainer, I felt so out of my comfort zone, and I was. But I turned that around. I went from being frightened and feeling like I didn't belong, not just there, but everywhere, to feeling like I owned that place, and being able to create some really deep and interesting relationships whilst learning loads about myself. And if I go back just to the military, because that's leaving Special Forces wasn't an easy thing. For some people, it's considered a bit of a pinnacle. I'm very proud of what I've achieved. I couldn't say that maybe 5-6 years ago because I never felt I deserved it. I wasn't good enough. And so there's two reasons I left. One is because I felt a calling to something else. I only just think I'm finding that now, helping other people, leading other people, serving other people, shining my light, speaking my truth about some of my experiences, but not to teach. It's just for people to have their own insights and reflections, not that my way is the right way or the wrong way. And then also leaving the military, part of me probably felt I was going to jump before I get pushed, before I got found out. Because I didn't, like I said, I didn't feel that I belonged. I always felt I was different. It's so easy to judge myself, not making the standard, or look at all these people that are better, or everybody knows that I can't do blah, blah, blah. It's just noise, unchallenged story that I wasn't even conscious of.
Mm. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like this, like so many men, if you like, Adam, with trying to fill this void with externals.
Mm.
Whether that's money, cars, success, women, career success, the businesses, the special forces, going and doing different events, if you like, Ironman, like filling this type of void. I speak a lot about like the likes of David Goggins mindset. It's like this constant push into pain all the time. That when is it ever going to be enough? You can't be enjoying your life if you're always pushing into pain. Always, like there's a place to push into pain. There is a resilience to do it. But equally, I think it's knowing where you're coming from when you're showing up in your life. Like, where is that behavior coming from? That's always putting you into a position of pain. And I think a lot of men would resonate with what you've just said then, in terms of, getting to the pinnacle. And then even when you're at the pinnacle, it's like, now what? Now I've
Yeah,
reached
exactly.
Everest.
Yeah.
Now I've got everything that I ever dreamed of, which resonates with me a lot. Now I've got everything I wanted. Now what? Because I still feel empty. I'm still not
Yeah.
fulfilled. I've still got this pain that I'm carrying, this feeling in my gut, and that I'm going to be found out. This self-critic and judgment, and this fear, essentially, that's keeping me really locked and constricted. How did you find, obviously, resolution from that? Obviously, with being in the forces, if you like, and the special forces, to then coming back to normal civvy life, if you like, how have you found like that transition and being able to close that void, maybe, or to some sort of fill it in some way?
Yeah, so for me, the transition wasn't a big thing. I know it is for some lads. My identity, probably because I never felt good enough, was never really wrapped around what I did, or what I achieved, because I didn't believe I deserved it. So for
Mm,
me, do you know, so
yeah.
that for me wasn't a big thing. So when that was taken away from me, it was like, oof, probably a relief to an extent, because I don't have to admit to doing that, or nobody's going to well, I'm not comparing myself to everybody else around me now.
Mm,
And so I think, yeah, this is why it's so important. And I'll mention his name is Johnny Bevan. He's a serving police officer, part-time, and then part-time stress and burnout coach. He's the one that gave me the coaching experience and opportunity. And being the type of lad that I am, I went all in. So I went into my darkest corners to explore what was really there, and going into certain situations or thoughts or feelings and really having a look at them and just letting them be. And it's, as a man, that was really quite uncomfortable because there's a lot of emotion around that. And for me, that
mm,
meant literally purging myself. Sometimes that was crying, but now I understand that as emotions for me, it's just energy and motion. It's trying to drive an action. And that's been locked inside me for 20, 30 years. So that's all that is just a release of that energy. And
mm,
now I get to decide, and I can almost feel myself calmer when I say that. So
mm,
it was going into all those things and just exploring them. And because sometimes, I made so many fucking assumptions that I don't know even where they came from, but I'd never challenged them. So one of them was, yeah, I'm not good enough. I'm not aggressive. I'm not tough, and all these sorts of things. I'm just an average lad. And I was comparing myself, like when we go into the military, there's generally lads there that are tough, that are aggressive. They come from all sorts of walks in life. And I was probably average at everything, good at some things, but really are quite average. But I was always comparing myself. So even with these things that are not even like tangible, how do you measure that in somebody? I made these
mm,
assumptions and carried it uh, on my back. I made it mean something about me. And I just got to challenge them. I just got to challenge them. Is that true? Does that help me? Is that true? Does it help me? Probably not. Just let it be then. Just let it be, and taking really small steps. So I think that the key to that is, like I said, bringing things into our awareness and then just gently challenging it. That's what
yeah,
really helped me.
yeah, because we sort of we can have like, well, obviously I spent a little bit of time meeting in Forpara, and I remember like I was really looking forward to Milan, because I'd done boxing, and I actually got kicked out kicked out of Milan for boxing. He said, you just meant to walk forward,
Yeah,
which I was gutted about, me, by the way, because that's what I was really
I
wanting
bet
to
you
do.
would.
But but yeah, it's like probably throughout a lot of my own life, I don't like there was this need to be tough, and this need to look tough. And, you know, I went to the extent of being boxing. I went to boxing because, you know, I felt maybe that I can never let anybody pick on me again. Like no one's ever going to have that power over me where they can make me feel inferior. And which then drove me to, you know, going to the gym after the finished boxing and taking anabolic steroids and being the biggest, making sure no one will ever hurt this younger, wounded part of me. There was just a part protecting me.
Yeah.
And then it drove me to the paras, if you like. It's like, what can make me, what's the hardest thing that I can do? So it was, you know, bar the SAS, if you like, for me, it's the parachute regiment. And, you know, that's the hardest of the armed forces, if you like, training wise and physical exercise wise. It's going to be difficult. I want to prove I'm a man. I want to prove I can do it, that I'm stronger, tougher than anyone, that I'm unbreakable. And then not long after that, I started having this sort of, you know, maybe self-reflection after I'd come out and noticed that the void of being in the Paris didn't fill it. Didn't fill this void. It drove me then into, you know, looking at myself more deeply. Drove me to near having a breakdown, panic attacks, all these different things were happening, even though externally I'd had everything that I'd ever wanted, and that I'd ever needed. And so, you know, where I'm going with this is, you know, how much we as men put the mask on of this tough stereotype, if you like. You know, we can have like the chip on the shoulder, or, you know, deep down beyond my toughness, if you like I'm not that man. I'm not this tough, aggressive person that was angry. That was a part of me that was coming online to protect a really vulnerable part that felt weak and felt not
Yeah.
enough, that it was barking and trying to keep itself safe and trying to keep me safe, essentially, is what I've learned. So that this mask of toughness was never who I was. And it took a lot of untangling, you know, a lot of self-work, if you like, to unpick these parts of me, because I knew that that was probably never me being me.
Yeah. And I think what resonates there for me is that I assumed that the discomfort had to be challenged physically, but I think the difference now is it's emotionally. So by that, I mean, so sometimes that's why, like, doing a marathon or an Ironman or parachute jump, when there's something physical to do, we can put that energy into motion because it's just trying to drive an action, you know, or it's trying to prevent us to do certain actions. You know what I mean? There's something physical to disperse that energy that's being generated from our thoughts, from our beliefs, but around the circumstances and all that stuff. So the difference, though, for me is that I realized that, yeah, for me, it's not physical anymore. It's all emotional. So now I have to be able to stand up and talk about parts of my story and parts of my vulnerability, still feeling all the intensity of those emotions, being able to process them and deal with them, and then step forward to what I actually want. So that saw me do things like, move my prices up, speak to people that I assume are a lot further ahead of me, making offers, saying sorry, learning to love myself, having really difficult conversations with my parents just about my experiences as a kid, what I made it mean, forgiving myself, forgiving them, forgiving lots of people, you know, all these things where there's no physical action actually to be taken. It's all emotional. So I realized I was resilient. And for me, that's being able to feel the full weight, like I said, of those emotions, and being able to process them, not ignore them or dilute or distract myself from them, and still take those actionable, intentional steps towards what I want or who I want to become or who I want to serve. So yeah, that was the spin for me. It's not physical anymore. Military, Ironman, special forces, it's emotional. It's standing up and shining my light, which may benefit people and it may not. And I'm good with both because I'm okay
Yeah.
with me at the end of the day.
Yeah. Would you say there was like, was there like you know, for a lot of people, if you like, to get to a breaking point? Like there's just like, for me personally, it was over a long period of time. There wasn't a defining moment, but it was happening. Like I was getting to this place of lowness, of feeling broken, of externalizing everything, and I was just going through this journey, and I got to a point where it was like I can't continue. Life
Yeah.
just can't keep happening the way it is. this isn't, I'm meant for more than this.
Yeah.
And even though, I had on paper everything that a lot of people would have liked to have, I just knew that something wasn't right. And I was sort of on my knees at one point, Adam. Was there a time that anything like that, like, was happening? Did you go through like a bit of a dark night of the soul, if you like, to push it into this journey and to snap out of it, if you like, and to wake up from a sleepwalking state, if you like, I call it.
Yeah, so I don't think there was any one sort of moment that brought me to my knees. Like I say, I was gifted this opportunity to experience coaching, and I took it. My heart knew that I needed it, but I don't think I could have carried on. I don't know what
Yeah.
life would have looked like. Probably a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot more choppy in the terms of the challenges, the waves, and the anger that I was feeling. But I'm so blessed that I didn't have to be crippled by challenge to change. And that's kind of what I want to tell people. Don't wait until the wheels fall off to go and see the mechanic, Don't wait for burnout. Or don't kick your dream further down the road because you don't feel you're good enough. It's never a right time. And so that's the kind of thing I want to emphasize, is that, yeah, not to wait, is to seek those people that can hold that space for you in men's groups, in coaches, in communities, to help you just gently clean the perception of your life, just to check for yourself. Am I going the right direction? Have I got what I need?
Yeah.
Rather than waiting for the burnout or the 40-year career in an industry where we hate and we can't wait for retirement, but retirement's boring, or we're having a heart attack a year into it, whatever, yeah, because we only get one shot on this planet, I believe.
Yeah, like if you're not doing something you want to be doing, you're not living life in the way you want to be living, it's time to look at your life. Because a lot of people are locked in like this mundane lifestyle of 9 to 5, or so many people are so busy right now, information overload. They've got the kids,
Yeah.
men are burning out, women are burning out. The family unit is sort of struggling more than ever right now, if you like, with cost of living, the things that are happening in the world. We're just coming out the other side of the pandemic. There's a lot of changes happening, if you like, and I feel like energetic shifts are happening within people, if you like. So what would you say then, Aaron, is the number one tool that you would sort of recommend for for anyone listening to this, who may be struggling, who may need to build some resilience in their life, who might
Yeah.
be feeling burnt out, stressed, overwhelmed, like there's nowhere to sort of turn to, or there's no light at the end of the tunnel. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of different things, really. I think for me, when I give an experience of my coaching, all that I ask they do is have their minds open to be able to receive insights about themselves. It's like not to listen to what I'm saying, but to listen to what comes up for them if I'm speaking, or when they're speaking, or the questions that are asked. So it's to open their mind to possibility rather than just close it down, which for me is about awareness. So I think that's the biggest one. It's awareness. I think, and it's really easy, and I can go off on lots of tangents here and down a rabbit hole, like you say, but I think awareness is the biggest thing. Awareness is the biggest thing. And if you wanted to know what's next, for me, it's around the 2 C's: courage and compassion. Yeah, it's like what, in fact, I'm going to go back there. So there's something that came to my mind just before that, and it wasn't courage and compassion. So awareness, there you go. It's the responsibility thing. It's awareness and responsibility. What am I making this mean about me? What am I making this mean about me? And just to really gently challenge. That is difficult to do on our own, because the human brain is designed for survival, and it's just trying to keep us safe at the end of the day. But that's, like I say, where certain men's groups and coaches and communities, or even coaches, as in like sports coaches, are invaluable, because they just offer a different insight or perspective and will just gently challenge us. That gentle is so key there. So it's not direct confrontation or being ripped to pieces. It's just the opportunity to explore. And that comes, yeah, the gift, the other side of that is awareness, mainly about ourselves and what we're doing or how we're showing up. So I think the awareness thing. And if you're going to try awareness on your own, I think it would be trying to get out of our own head. Thoughts is such a limited, we've got such limited capacity within our thoughts. Our feelings and our instinct is a lot bigger. So when we stay trapped in our mind with the same mind that caused these problems about what we're making this mean, then we'll stay there spinning. And a great thing that I heard from a coach who I really respect as well, Gary Bamford from the Doratus Inner Circle, he talks about thinking in ink. So getting it out of your head onto paper, you get a bit of distance between what's actually going on to see it from a different way if you're not going to speak to somebody or if you're not in a men's group or have coaching. So that helps you gain a slightly different view of what's going on for you for more awareness. When you've got more awareness, you've got more chance of taking a different line or course or choice in that action. So awareness is the biggest one.
Yeah, I fully agree. Awareness gives us the choice to see what's happening, and when we don't have choice, we're unconscious. We've lost choice. So yeah, I love that, Aaron. So how then would you, how would people then listening to this, if they were interested in working with you, how would they be able to do that?
Yeah, so I mainly work on LinkedIn at the moment, and Aaron Hill Synergy Coaching, and same with Instagram, Aaron Hill _79, where I put my podcast on there mainly. And yeah, at the moment I'm running one-to-one clients with it, and I've got a small group with a couple of other little projects that are bubbling away in the background. Hence the reason I'm quite excited to get back into work after summer. But that's what I'm focusing on at the moment is mainly the group coaching, with serving a few one-to-one clients outside of that as well. Yeah, and I think the one final point here as well, Paul, is that, or in fact two, is one is that I don't think any of us are broken. There's nothing to fix here. So it's not looking for a solution outside of ourselves with tools and hacks, as I know you talk about. And the second thing is that just because we work on ourselves, life always isn't easy. It doesn't become suddenly blissful and always happy. For me, life is a pendulum that swings. It's made up of highs and lows, happiness and sadness, love and anger. But it's about where are we putting our focus when those things are happening? How do we deal? How do we respond? That's the difference. Like you said, then we're acting from a conscious place, regardless of it's positive or negative, because we know who we are, what we want, and the steps that we need to take. So, yeah,
like I speak to men. It's about like we're shortening the distance. So say, you know, what might have took you 2, 3, 4 days going out on the booze for the full weekend because something's happened, an argument's happened, you're overly stressed, you might lose yourself for that, 4 days. You'll get that good at capturing yourself in the act. When these parts show up, it might only be an hour. So you're shortening that distance of reaction, where you're then getting the chance to respond quicker and then make different choices. And if you're making different choices, your life will change. But if you keep reacting in the same old way, you're just going to get more of the same. So actually what we're doing when we're growing in awareness, we're just shortening that period of reaction, if you like, by capturing it with more self-love, self-awareness, self-compassion. And that's where we sort of get, the integration, if you like, with these parts, because like you say, there's nothing to fix. There's parts of ourselves that are maybe misunderstood, that we haven't fully integrated into who we are, that hold an emotional charge. So amazing work you're doing, mate. And that, we've probably spoken about 45 minutes, I think, and that seems like it's just gone. We don't even feel
that's
like
the intro done.
That's the intro. If you're happy to, mate, we can get on again in a couple of weeks or months, whenever suits. your diary,
Definitely.
we'll get back on and we can go a little bit more deeply into a specific topic because
Yeah, I'd love to, mate. Yeah.
want to hear more from you, mate. So we'll get something booked in.
Sounds good, Paul. Cheers, mate. Thanks for providing this space, mate, and the conversation. Really enjoyed that.
No problem. Thank you very much, Aaron.